So I'm going to start. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. I'm going to turn my TV down just a hair. Okay, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Tara Duncan, also known as Lift Like Mommy on Instagram. You may also occasionally hear me refer to myself as a potato, so that's me.
So I have to ask, where'd the potato come from?
Well, so I'm not small. I'm clearly round, and it's kind of a term of endearment sort of that I've kind of created for myself. I'm round. I don't have a torso. Like I have such a small torso that like whenever I did strongman, like my soft, the bigger strongman belts, like it fold up on itself. And the only place I can wear a lifting belt is like literally right under my boobs because that's all I got. Like there's no other torso spot. Like it comes up. So I'm like, oh, potato. But I've been a big girl my whole life. And I find that, a lot of times we're going to get real deep right here, right off the bat. A lot of times, like the word fat is a negative word, right? Like we don't call people fat. It's not nice. But we can take some of the power out of that word if we kind of own it a little bit. Like I'm fat. I have fat. Am I the largest woman in the world? No, but I have a lot of fat. So by me owning that word, it's not really a negative to me anymore. And you can't hurt me. So the potato is like my happier. People still get kind of, and here we go. People, that's one of my dogs bullying her way into the room. People still get mad when I call myself a potato because they're like, oh, don't say such bad things about yourself. And I'm like, but you're upset. I'm not.
Right.
I'm good. Right. I am what I am. I don't have to hate it.
Well, and I
can want to make it better.
I'll be honest, that's why I asked, because like for me, I'm reading and looking at the hashtags on and I'm like, oh, a potato. Okay, I have to ask about that because I'm like, that's kind of cute. So I was curious.
Potatoes are delicious.
Right?
Who doesn't love a potato, right? Like everybody eats potatoes.
So it's funny, my daughter, when she was in I guess she was probably in 4th grade when I was teaching at the high school, would be about right, 4th or 5th grade. I was teaching at the high school and we had 2 security officers at the high school where I taught. And I was a special education teacher with kids with behavior disorder. So security officers were always at my room. And one of the security officers was really tall and really thin. And the other one was short, and he wasn't overweight at all. He just was short. So she called one of them French fry and one of them tater tot. just what she came up with. Like, okay. So anyway, all right. Well, I'm going to start with some questions. Just tell us a little bit about your background and what you do in your daily life.
So my daily life, I'm a single mom. My ex is around. My daughter is extremely lucky, but on the day-to-day, I have a lot of the time with my daughter. So balancing training can be difficult because now she's 5. So she's just gotten into where, she plays soccer and she has gymnastics. It was a little easier when she couldn't run away and I just could bring her because it was my stuff, but now she has her own things. So that creates some scheduling challenges. I do work full time and I train 4 to 5 days a week, depending upon, kind of what we have going on and what life has going on. So that's kind of that. I was never really an athlete. I was a competitive swimmer for like 4 years when I was a kid. Attempted diving, and we learned real quick that I do not possess any level of grace. So there's that.
I don't either.
But I was a theater kid, musical theater. I went to school for musical theater. I'm clearly not famous right now, so that didn't really pan out the way that we thought it might. Also because that whole grace thing and dancing, although I dance on my Instagram, like that's clearly not real dance. There's actually no technique. So not really a strong point. I would have been voted least likely to do anything athletic ever, had that been a superlative that was a thing. And then so this kind of happened and now we do this.
I feel you with the grace thing. I'm fairly certain Barry can vouch for this. I am probably the only person that can fall off the floor, quite literally.
Twins, that's me.
But but she looks beautiful the whole way down.
Oh, see, that's spoken like a good husband right there. Like, that's a keeper.
He's the best. He is the best. Okay, well, then that actually leads me really well into the next question that I ask everybody. Since you said you were never an athlete, most men grew up watching Strongman and Arnold, and there were strength competitors on every bookshelf and all over the place. It wasn't like that for women. So when was that moment that you decided that you wanted to be strong? How did you get into this, and how did this start for you?
Well, it's funny because I can remember watching a lot of that stuff when I was a kid, and I always thought, oh, like, oh, we're gonna pick up stones and rocks. Like, that's pretty cool. And as a kid, I didn't really wonder why there weren't women. That just, I don't know that it ever really occurred to me at that point. But no, I was always a chunky kid. I was a big girl my whole life. Lost a little weight when I was in theater school because we were literally dancing all the time or attempting to. So that kind of upped the cardio factor. And I was living in New York City at the time, so I was walking everywhere. But I started training, personal training, kind of stuff like that. And I always hated the cardio, but we loved, at that point it was like bodybuilding style stuff. But I always loved the weight. Like, okay, well, are we gonna do it more next time? Are we gonna tricep extension, with like 40 pounds next time, or, whatever. It was always exciting. And then I guess I was like 28, maybe. So this is like 6 or 7 years ago. This was before Facebook completely stalked your thoughts, but I had seen a blog post kind of come up in my feed about a powerlifter, and I can't remember who it was, but it was a female. And she was kind of talking about eating for powerlifting, but the squat, bench, and stuff. And I was like, okay, whenever I've trained to try to lose weight or whatever, like, I always liked the weight part. And I'm not sure how family friendly we are with this. And I am from New York, and I have a mouth, but
you go right ahead. You're good.
Okay, cool. I basically was like, okay, well, I'm never going to be tiny, so I may as well take this body and do some impressive shit. Like, that's the thought that went through my head. And I was like, oh, that's a thing. Like, I want to lift heavy. And I didn't really know where to start. So it was like a thought that was kind of like living in my head a little bit. And then a coworker had come in to work and was like, hey, there's this like small mom and pop gym around the corner, from work. And they have like a lot of strong people, and they do like a lot of, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go check it out. And it's so funny because he talked about it, but I went in before he did. And that was the first iteration of ETX barbell, because we've had a couple of different locations and stuff. And I went in and I was like, yeah, I want to do this. Baby.
Do this one day.
Okay, go. Sorry. She doesn't understand the concept of being on any kind of phone call whatsoever. So I walked in and I met Alan Pilley, who has been my coach this entire time, and he's the owner. And I see him and he walks up and I'm like, oh, that's a big one, because he's all, he's huge. And I started talking, and I had been in a car accident, and I had a whole bunch of back herniations up and down my spine. And so I was nervous, and I told him, I was like, hey, I really want to do this, but I'm scared because, until you're an athlete and you kind of know that movement is really great for you, everyone scares you. And you're like, oh my gosh, if I pick something up, I'm going to die. And he was like, okay, we're going to be fine. Like, we know what we're doing here. It's going to be good. And I was like, okay. But I was nervous. So he had me start with CrossFit, and I did that. And then I got pregnant. And I still trained throughout my pregnancy, gained all of the weight and became an even larger potato, and was like, you know what? We're clearly not going to be doing any pull-ups anytime soon, but I want to compete. So we're just going to do the barbell things. And then powerlifting was a thing. So
Can I color this? Because I know there's
Charlie,
stickers on.
go.
Can I color
Yes. And then please leave me alone. We had this discussion and everything.
You are quite all right. We have been there. Ours are 18 and 15. They don't ask us if they can color anymore. So please, it's perfectly fine. This is why I do this. I want people to see that, we're moms, we work, we train, this is what we do. This is our juggling act.
She's absolutely the best thing in my life. She is amazing, but I have to remember, like I'll be training and sometimes we have to cut it short because she's done. She's done with the day. Or we're like this, where you're stopping every 3 minutes and you're like, okay, well, I didn't plan to be here for 7 hours today. So we're going to be done. So yeah, to your point, like, yeah, everybody has different things going on.
Well, and enjoy it, because she will grow up way faster than you think, because it happens really quickly. Our oldest turned 18 last month, and we're not real sure how it happened, and we're actually not real sure it actually happened, other than it did. So do you remember your first meet, and how was it? How did you tell us about that?
So my first meet was in October of 2016. I was raw with wraps. My daughter was 4 months old. So I'll just say, like, do as I say, not as I do. I don't recommend that any pregnant lady comes immediately from having a baby, especially a C-section like I had, and does something crazy like that. It happened to work out really well for me. My dogs are losing it. Right. It happened to work out really well for me. I had postpartum depression, and I have regular depression, and then it was postpartum. So that was super cute. And I had gone back into training. I was cleared. I was good. And I told Alan, I really want to work toward powerlifting. I want to do this. And I was like, but I'm going to wait till I compete, because I'm definitely, for a big girl, like these other big girls are so much stronger. Like I'm not strong enough. And he's like, okay, so when are you going to be strong enough? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, yeah, because while you're over here worried about not being strong enough, everyone else is also getting stronger. So you're never going to be strong enough. So you should probably just go do it. And I was like, well, okay, we'll do that. And I signed up, and it was an APF meet. Brian Schwab, Orlando Barbell, was running it. And I met Joe Jordan that day and some amazing other people. Joe Jordan came right over because he's like, oh, baby girl, because he's got 3 girls. And it was just like a whole thing. Guys, they love each other, I swear. But I was really excited, especially having just been postpartum. Like I had done the lifts and everything, and we had trained before, but I wasn't expecting a ton out of myself because I had a C-section. It's 4 months. Like I knew not to get crazy. And my goal was to total like 600, right? Which was like, and I already was aware at the time, without knowing too much about powerlifting, that it's pretty abysmal at like, I think my first body weight was like 269 or something. I weighed, and I was like, that's pretty abysmal. But I surprised myself, and I totaled 722, like still not, nothing compared to where I am now, and nothing compared to anything competitive. But it was like, okay, we still did better. And I was
20 pounds over your goal. That's huge. It's huge.
It was great. It was a great day. And like my baby, she was there, not that she knows anything or remembers anything, but it was a really great moment, like especially battling a lot of the things. And like I had said before, the struggle with the weight, like when I gained all this weight in pregnancy, 92 pounds, that was delightful. Like not even trying, like it didn't matter what I ate. My body was like, yeah, we don't like this. So it was like, oh, okay. All right, good. Those numbers are going up. We want to see those numbers go up. So we can, even if we're not where we want to be with our body, like we're still doing something cool. We're still working. We're going to be okay. And then from there, I kept signing up for meets because I was terrified that if once I say I'm going to do something, like if I sign up for something, I'm going to do it. It's not about the money. It's not about, although I can't afford to just blow off meets, but it's about like, okay, well, I said I'm going to do this. Like, we're going to go and do this. And then like, I have to show up to train even on the bad days because no one wants to go and look like an asshole. So we're all like, okay, don't want to train today, but we have to because we signed up for this thing and we're doing it.
Right.
I was just afraid I'd never get off the couch. So I kept signing up until now. I don't know what I would like post meet. We're all like, okay, we're good. We don't want to see a barbell for a week. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready, coach. What can I do? And he's like, I need you to chill.
So you and I had talked the other day and you were talking about the phone call that you had with the girls, and, you know, Leah had introduced herself and Allison had introduced herself, and they were talking about, you know, I have this many world records and I lift this much, and you're just like, I'm a mom and I'm a potato. And so Barry went to Open Powerlifting this morning and pulled some numbers for me. So the next time that you get on a call like that, you absolutely cannot introduce yourself. I mean, you can introduce yourself as a mom and a potato, but you cannot say the same thing that you said to me, the whole, you know, I don't have all of that stuff, because it's a lie. What you have been in 14 meets, and out of those 14 meets, you have taken first place 9 times. So you have 9 first place, 9. Not like you told me I have no first place. You have 9, not none, 9. So the next time you're on that call, remember that.
Thank you. Make me cry.
And then your multiply total right now is 1488. So your multiply is double what you did at your first raw meet.
Yeah.
So
it's hard sometimes because you look, and I try to be pretty real about it on Instagram, but like I watch other people around me, other strong women, and you feel like you don't progress as much, and you're like, okay, am I not working hard enough? Am I not, you know, is it just genetics? Is it just, you know, some of them have been doing it longer. But then you wonder, and I know this is real for so many people, they wonder like, well, why am I not like them? I've been doing this longer than them, or I've been, you know, I'm working my butt off, and you know, what's, and you know, I have to remember sometimes, like when you go back and you look, like even my raw numbers in like 4 years, I put like 400 pounds on my total, and I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't seem like much, maybe if I put it against someone else, but like when I look at it that way, like that's still like, look what I did. And I think what's really important to me and for other people, especially beginners, because I get a lot of other fellow potatoes and a lot of newbies reaching out to me. And I think it's probably just because like, I don't look like an athlete. So I think sometimes people feel comfortable with me because, you know, I don't look intimidating per se, I guess. I don't know. But they reach out to me and I'm like, no, it's okay. Like progress isn't linear. Like I get disappointed, and trust me, my coach has to talk me off the ledge all the time. But we have to remember, like sometimes we can only do what we can do. Like there are those days I got to skip a training session because of my kid or whatever. And she's worth it. You know, she's everything to skip that. I already know next Sunday we got to go to the gym early to squat, and I got to get out because she has a pizza party at noon and she's going with her teammates. Like it's not just about me, or my job is pretty demanding sometimes. And it's like, well, you know, it is what it is. And not everybody, a lot of people are extremely talented. They have some God-given ability to do these amazing things. Some of them probably do work harder than I do. Some of them are in a gym all day long because that's their career. Like, I just have to remember that even I struggle with this, like, okay, well, I'm not everybody else. This is me. This is my journey.
right.
And thank you for reminding me. When you look back at it, it's like, okay, we've done something.
Yes.
You know, I'm never going to be Leah. She's one of my favorite people on the planet. I'm not going to be Leah, and that's okay.
But you're not right. You're not on Leah's journey either. You're on Tara's journey. Right.
Yeah. And I want people to hear that, because it's really hard, especially in the beginning when you haven't been doing the song and you're like, but I don't feel like I'm getting any better. Like, don't give up. It's important.
Yeah. And the only number you need to beat is your own number.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's one thing if you're, you know, Rayanne was chasing Bekah for so long, and like that was her goal. That was her goal. And when she hit that goal, then she set another goal for herself. And that's great to have a goal. And even she said, you know, have a goal, set a goal, but make sure that when you're training every week, you're beating your previous week's numbers. Like
Yeah.
while you're achieving that goal, don't go in and, okay, you know, I'm Tara, and this week I've got to beat Leah's number. That's not going to work. If you know, if there's a goal that you have in mind, and you know, accomplishing that is great, but yeah, you gotta remember that you just have to progressively get better every week. So don't ever introduce yourself as I've done nothing. When you said that to me, I was like, are you kidding me? You've done nothing? I'm like,
Well,
no.
I don't hold any records, but no, I try to just bring some fun to it. You know, that's what I didn't exactly set out to be the person on the platform that does weird dancing and like gets all excited and whatever, but that's kind of where I've been, and that's kind of what people sort of seem to expect now. So it's kind of like, okay, all the time, because it seems to work well. I do better happy. You know, some people have to go to like an angry place to lift, and which whatever works for you, but I don't judge. But the happier I am, the better I do, because otherwise I'm overthinking. And then we go into that anxiety, depression thing, which is super cute that I have. So it's like, we're just going to laugh and smile. And my coach sometimes is like, can you focus? I'm like, do you want this or do you want tears? Because these are the two levels that you get. And he's like, this is better. And I'm like, let's go.
So, who are some of your favorite power lifters, both male and female?
Well, I'm really excited, and I don't get mad at me. I joke with the girls from the Main Event Project, which, if you don't know, is Leah Reichman and Amber Hansen and Allison Hind. I joke with them all the time that like one of these things is not like the others, because I still don't like, we came together so beautifully, but I also, I'm like, how did this even happen that I'm with like these amazing, like, how did this happen? Like, so I've actually never met Leah and Allison in person. I have been in the same place as Leah before, but was like too nervous and shy and fangirly to even know how to begin to act like a human, which is ironic because she is the sweetest human. So it would have been fine, but I just was being weird. So I've actually never met them in person, but I have always looked up to them. Leah, especially because there's not a lot of super, super strong big girls. Especially not in gear, not
Right.
like Leah and I are kind of the biggest girls.
Right.
So
No, absolutely. I completely understand. Yeah.
I don't have a lot to compare to. And when we're talking about like, hey, okay, what gear works for you? You know, like what works for you? What do you do? Like there's plenty of amazing, super strong, smaller women, but our body, well, Leah is also much taller than I am. So our bodies aren't going to work the same way exactly, but she has some of the same. So I've always looked up to her. And like I said, Allison, I'd been asking her about bench years ago. Amber is just so super fun and cool that I've always just loved the vibe that she brings to it too. So I love them. I would love to see Val Oliveira back to the platform because I love watching her work. And she's super cool. I've always kind of, it's weird, I've always kind of gravitated toward a lot of the geared women, even though for like the first 4 years I was raw, because most of my gym, most of my guys were geared. So I was kind of around it all the time and just like learning like who they knew. So to that end, Bob Merck is one of my favorite male lifters that, I mean, I love all the people in my gym. So I'm talking about outside. Right. You know, I've always loved Bob, and now it's cool. We're close friends. So that's awesome. And I love his wife too. Fun fact, Bob takes my daughter on all the rides at Universal because I can't. the scarier a guy looks, my daughter is all about. So we're going to have an interesting teenage and young adult phase, but for now it's cute. But, but she's like, Mom. And he takes her on the rides because I can't handle them. And
Well, and let's be honest, he's really 9 at heart.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And one of the like sweetest, most inclusive humans that exists. I've always loved him, and Alan have always, they kind of came up sort of and multiply together sort of around the same time. So he's always like, when he'd be visiting, he'd be at the gym. So I got to know him. So I've always looked up to him, and Alan would like follow each other with training and stuff. So it's just sort of organic that kind of happened. Stacy Burr retired, but I've always really liked her. I've been to some of her seminars and stuff like that. And I really like, she's another one at the top that of her game that I feel like she's extremely helpful to others. Dan Bell, I really love because of the way that he just is with other people. I like good people,
Right.
and a lot of the people at the top of this sport are really great humans. And that's one of the things I love about this sport. I've never met so many people willing to literally take the equipment off their back to see you do well.
Right.
And that's the thing, because you don't always get that.
Yeah. I think that at some point in the near future, we're going to have to get you and Chris Delafave on a platform together for a dance off.
I would love that. So Chris is hilarious. I think it was my second multiply meet. I passed out on squats twice. It was down Claudia and Sean Knowles were putting it on. I don't know how to say their name. Knowles. Anyway, they're awesome in Fort Lauderdale. And Kyle O'Leary was my back spot, who is now a good friend of mine, because I had to reach out to him and be like, hey, thanks for not letting me die. I'm not a tiny person. Me, and then 6 pounds. I was out like twice. And Chris happened to be at that meet. He had a lifter or two, and he's giving me shit. He's like, oh, are you gonna stay awake for a bench? We're gonna do this? And I was like, yes, I'm gonna stay awake for bench. And so we were going back and forth all day, but we had a good time. And then he and I did the Perfect Storm meet out at Tommy Arnold's gym in Daytona Beach in May.
Mm-hmm.
He set, I don't know, 1.5 million records that day. And so that was a lot of fun to be there for that too, and to be on the same platform. So, but we haven't danced together. So Chris, if you hear this, I'll just like, let's do this.
I'm thinking that maybe Erie in July, we might have to build a platform or a dance floor on the platform. Listening to me, he's because we'll have lights and music and everything else. We'll just turn the platform into a dance floor, and y'all can just have a dance off. So
I'll start working on moves now. Surprise everybody, debut.
I think it's better if you just freestyle.
Yeah, I mean, the honest truth is I don't have any real moves. It's just whatever happens.
My move would be to hit the floor. I mean, I would just fall over. So you're better than I am, I promise.
I'm sure it hasn't.
Do I?
I'm shocked I haven't.
Oh.
Like they every day in the gym, I trip or hit something, and Alan will be like, you literally just saw that there. Like, I watched you see it, and then you fell over it. And I'm like, I don't know what you want from me. He's like, how does this happen? I'm like, I don't know. It just does. If he has a drink anywhere in the vicinity, I will knock it over, or my child will. He comes in, he's like, where are they? Before he'll put something down. He knows it's all over.
So how do you feel about the sport and its progression of female lifters right now?
To me, I have been very lucky in that almost pretty much all of the meets I've done, or most of them here, or have been in Florida. I've traveled for a few. I have felt like things have been pretty equal and pretty great. Why do you sound like this? What I think is cool is when I first started, in 2016, it was like, okay, you know, the long-term goal is that 1,000-pound total. And it was like at the time, and that's just 5 years ago, at the time, not as many women had one, right? Like,
Right.
it's kind of like when you go to college now, it's like, if you don't get a bachelor's degree, there's no point really. I mean, there is, but you know what I mean? Like everybody has that piece of cake, where back in the day, that wasn't the case, right? Well, now 1,000-pound totals are like, okay, you know, a lot of women have, so I think that progression is super cool. That like when I first started, like that was a lofty goal. Like I would have been one of the best in the world at the time. But now so many women have made that goal of like all shapes and sizes, all backgrounds, all colors, all everything. So I love seeing that. I also love that most of those first places you mentioned, I was the only one in my weight class at the time. So like I finished the meet and that was, but hey, you know what? I
First place is
finished.
first place. That's
Got it.
right.
So I'm thrilled, but I would be the only one. You know, there was just like a nationals meet that I wasn't the only one. And then of course the WPO. But now there's so many more women in any given meet. You know, it's not just you and the 3 others that showed up to a local meet one day. It's like
Right.
you have a full flight, 20, maybe you have that 15, 20, but then you also got more ladies in the geared flight too. And it's just, so I think that's amazing. Like seeing so many more women, the sheer numbers of
Yeah.
participation is great. And more geared since the WPO came back in 2017. Was it 2017 or 18? I'm so bad with timing.
Yeah.
But so many more women in gear. I mean, myself included. I was always going there. It just took a while to get there, but so many more. Like I love everything about all of that, but there's so many more. Is everything 100% equal? No. And that's why we started the Main Event Project, is kind of to address some of those things. But we're also seeing, which is really cool, the number of people reaching out to us that are saying, you know, weight classes aside, because those needed to change regardless, but weight classes aside, we have had a lot of women say, you know what, I've never experienced anything negative like that, but I'm really glad that it's being addressed so that no one has to.
Right.
We do get the stories. People have had bad experiences or experiences maybe that weren't terrible, but just left an uneasy feeling. Guys, like, why do you sound like this? My life. There's only 2 of them and they like each other, but here you can see so that you understand what is happening. Hey, the puppy and then the old lady. The old lady is spicy, man. She has attitude. Can you just please go to sleep or something? All you do is sleep except when I'm on the phone. So there are some of those things that we're addressing, but it's been really great to hear that people are excited for those that have had some kind of negative aspect, and then also to hear the positive stories. Of course, that's great.
Right. Right. So outside of the gym and being a mom and all that, what other hobbies or you know, fun facts about you or anything that we may not know?
Let me try to have her exit the room.
Okay.
Come. Go inside. Go. Charlie, call the dog.
Now she's just
Goodbye.
gonna sit outside the door.
Probably, but it'll dampen the sound of the barking a little bit. Because she goes off. Like she tells me off. It's not just like, hey, hi at me. It's like, no, I'm going to tell you off for 15 minutes. And it's like, okay, well, we'll never finish this conversation. This was a great example of my daily life. Honestly, between work and momming and the training doesn't leave a ton of time for other hobbies. Really like Epsom salt baths. I candlelight my bathroom. It's romantic for just me. It's great. I do a lot of reading, especially of like cheesy thrillers, you know, like sometimes like serial killer type mystery things, or just like psychological thriller things. Those are my sort of guilty pleasure. I read other books too. I go through like periods of different interests, but that's where we live. I listen to podcasts sometimes. I like redoing or refurbishing furniture. I was doing that kind of like pretty obsessively for a while listening to like true crime stuff. But I kind of like, life gets crazy and you sort of like fall back from a hobby, you know? So I got to get back into that. But I refurbished everything in my master bedroom just because it was like, oh, well, like a really nice big set is like $3,000. You know what I don't have? So like a Facebook marketplace finds, and now I have like a whole master bedroom suite for like $400. It's fantastic. Stuff like that. I'm like, I like trying new things and going places and stuff. Just don't have a ton of time, or people are busy, and so you're like, okay, well, I'm not gonna go by myself. So I'm really lucky. Like as I'm listening to you, I'm like, man, I am not interesting. Like I don't have like
That's not true. Because as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, man, we really need to spend more time together, because like true crime podcasts and cheesy thriller novels, like that's my wheelhouse. Oh, you're clumsy, so am I. Oh, your dogs are driving you crazy. Mine are locked in a bedroom right now so that I don't have to listen to them while I'm on the phone. Like, yeah, no, totally get it all. So we should totally spend more time together. I mean, granted, we're several states apart, but you know, we'll the logistics, we'll figure that out.
Pretty much the only traveling I do is for meet. So hopefully we'll just like make the paths cross. That would be great.
Well, just travel on over to Texas. I'll have a meet somewhere, I'm sure.
Love it.
Well, I guess really all that we haven't talked about, I think we've covered pretty much everything that I asked, with the exception of, is there any advice that you have? And you did the advice for younger lifters earlier with the, don't compare yourself to others, but is there any advice that you have to other women in the sport as far as any challenges that you personally have overcome or that you have seen,
I think a lot of the challenges that I have overcome are kind of almost self-imposed, kind of in a way. I think a lot of times we spend a lot of time thinking about things like, well, a lot of what I think is for newer lifters, but anybody, oh, singlets are really unattractive. I'm not going to look good in my singlet. And then we like think much about the way other people will look at us, that we kind of psych ourselves out of the situation, or even when any given meet, whether it's your first one and you think you're not going to put up good numbers on the platform, or it's your 15th one and you think that you haven't made the progress that you should have. It's like, no one's looking at you the way that you're looking at you, if that makes sense. Like no one's looking at you to be like, man, she looks like hell in that singlet. Like nobody cares. Like we're all wearing the same ugly costume. Like nobody cares. The numbers at your meet, the only people that might even judge you for your numbers at a meet probably aren't the best humans, and you shouldn't really care what they think anyway, because most of the people I've been around, or the opinions that I value, they might be like, okay, I'm not going to lie to you. Was it your best day? No, but you finished and you did this and you were here, and they find the positives. Those are the people you want to be around anyway. Right. The people who have something negative to say, they're helping no one. So that's, right. And it's hard to think that. And especially, I'm pretty sure my coach is going to listen to this and then be like, oh, she actually does listen to things I say sometimes, because, in the moment when you're upset about something, and someone's trying to tell you how well you did, and you're like, no, it was terrible. And you're like, but you're not listening. Well, I did. I just took, 3 weeks to kind of process it. My last meet, for example, something I learned, I did Tommy's meet, which is where I got my 1488 total for a multiply, and I was really excited. I got sort of a last minute invite to the WPO, and I was so excited. I think there's something to be said also for, I kind of grew up a perfectionist. Like I'm a jack of all trades. Like I've always been good at almost anything I try. Not great, but good, passable, right? So it's like when something's not immediately easy for me, I get frustrated, and I think a lot of people can kind of relate to that. My daughter's like that. And I'm like, no, don't be like mommy. Don't be like mommy. But
I
it's
think a lot
like,
of moms are like that though.
yeah, well, it's like, you want to be good at things, especially because I got this little kid watching me, and I want coming home with a good total with it's as much to show her what her body can do. I have amazing parents, but I grew up very upset and frustrated that I was overweight, and I didn't, they tried their hardest to help me. But I just had some issues and I couldn't, I just was always a chunky kid. If I had known about lifting, and if I, the things that my body could do earlier, I might have been happier in a lot of ways. So I want my daughter to see those things,
Right.
to know that I don't have to look like everybody else to still have all of these great things. So that's just, that in itself is a good thing to learn for people. But at this meet, so I went to the WPO, and I was reasonably rational going in. Like I was bottom of the barrel at that point, which is just facts. Like so I said, hey, you know what? I wasn't one of the original 30. I didn't originally make the cut. I'm going. So my job is to prove I can hang. Like
Right.
I'm not going to win. I'm not going to win. I wasn't going to go against Deanna and Amber and Rebecca Robert. I wasn't going to win. Like, let's be serious. Like, that isn't even like a negative thing. It's just like, facts are facts, man. I'm not going to suddenly, it's just what it is. So
Right.
I'm like, okay, we're going to have a go. We're going to have a good time. Like, we're going to go. I was frustrated because I didn't do quite my best. I did my best that day, but not the day that I was hoping to have. And I joke now, hey, I made last place look good because we had a good time. Someone had to come in last place. At least I had a great day,
Right.
And then I go and I do this meet, and I'm like, oh, we're going to be great. We're going to be great. I turn around after my last warm up. I look at Alan and I go, you want to lower my opener? And he's like, I want to lower your opener. And I'm like, oh, so he runs away. I've never done that on squat before because I'm always pretty confident about my squat. But that last warm up, I'm like, oh boy, that last warm up should fly. Negative. So I was like, hey, just go ahead. And then what was supposed to be my opener ended up my second. And it was like a 47-second squat, like grinded out. But I did it, but I really had a fight for that. And I was like, I was so disappointed in myself that I just didn't have more that day. But then I walk away, and I'm in a flight with a lot of geared older gentlemen. They've been around for a while. And one of them turns to me and he goes, man, the way you grinded out that squat, you're my hero. And I like stop for a second because I'm like, in my head, he doesn't know that wasn't anywhere near what I'm capable of. He doesn't know that. To him, it was like, man, look at that girl. She just fought for that. He doesn't know me. And like, just it made me stop, and like that perspective of like, to someone else, what isn't even your best is everything to someone else.
Right.
And that meant more to me than the squat itself, honestly, because I was just like, oh, like in that lesson, just like, oh, well, it wasn't my best, but to them, they thought I was great, and
Somebody's always watching.
yeah. And I think sometimes in those bad days, we have to remember, like, even at the most basic level, like you did more than the person who doesn't get off the couch, or you did, there's someone else at that meet that you did more than, and they're looking at you like, man, I want to be that one day, even if it's not your best day. And so I think the most important thing is to really find whatever positives you can and hold on tight, because it can be rough and it can mess with your head, because we care so much. No one else picks up the most expensive hobby in the world where they get zero money back, 99% of us,
Right.
unless we love it.
Our return on investment is not good.
No. And then we hurt all the time. It's like, we don't do this unless we love it. So find the positive. because it's there if you're listening.
Yeah. And I just, while you were talking, I realized something that I've never really had a pretty rough day on Friday. And it should have been a fantastic day. And with everything that happened, it was, but I just mentally was having a rough day. And I guess just in listening to you talk, it hit me, you know, we're always watching other people and we're always learning from other people. Like in my daily life, I'm always, they say you learn something new every day. And so you're always watching other people and you see other people and you're like, oh, hey, I never thought to try it that way. Or, you learn something, you learn a lesson or a whatever, you read a quote and you're like, oh, hey. And I never really thought about it when you just said it. There's always somebody watching us too. You never know who's learning from you. Like, you have no idea. I mean, hopefully our children are, but who else out there is watching you and learning from you? So I really, no, that was just kind of an aha moment for me. So thank you for that.
Thank the kind gentleman who was so nice to me, because yeah, that's kind of when I realized that too. And I'm like, man, I'm over here pouting and this person thinks that I'm like, I was like, it took me a minute, but I was like, okay, we're gonna chill.
Well, I really appreciate you sitting down with me today. I told Lee, I was like, I'm so nervous. And I do get nervous for all of these. So especially if I don't know who I'm talking to, like if I've never, really met the person or talked to the person, I'm like, oh, I'm going to mess up. I'm going to do something wrong. I'm going to say something wrong. I don't know. I'm kind of a basket case. I won't lie. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you.
Friends.
I'm telling you, girl, like we're going to have to meet somewhere in the middle. Okay. We're going to have family in Mississippi. You come to Mississippi, I'll drive. We'll just meet there and spend the day. Anyway,
happen, I think.
it sounds like a plan. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I really appreciate it. I know how valuable your time is, especially as a mom. So thank you for taking the time to sit down with me today. I appreciate it.
Oh, I'm so honored. When you asked, I was like, me? Really, I'm always happy to talk to really anybody. If you couldn't tell, I can talk. And any way I can help somebody, like I'm always happy to do that. So no, thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Is there anything else that you want to add or anything you need to say or want to say before we go?
I don't think so. I think those are most of that is kind of the things that are most important, just try to be positive even when it's hard. And, anybody, if they're listening and they have any questions or anything I talked about, they got something out of and they have more questions, like anytime, I'm happy to chat with whoever.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And it was really fun. Apparently my allergies are going to mess up right now, but I really do appreciate you sitting down with me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was fun. I will I'll be in touch and we're got to get together soon because I think it might be disastrous. One of us will probably end up hurt with something broken from tripping over each other, but I think it would still be fun.
I think sometimes, the risk versus reward, I think the reward would be good.
I agree completely. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to say goodbye and I'm going to stop our recording and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.
Bye, love. Bye, Barry.
Oh, he's outside on the phone with somebody, but I'll tell him that you said bye.
Okay.